Boxing Ego here. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon on the top of your screen to get notified when the latest new content drops. What up, fight world? It's your boy Ego and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you guys smash the like button, also subscribe to the channel. Now, done a couple of videos. They said Conor McGregor, he's already practicing his boxing and working on his technique to fight Floyd Mayweather. His coach said they're pretty much under the mindset that this fight can and will happen. As a result, they're under the mindset of just training. Now, Helen Yee Sports out of Las Vegas, she did an interview with Jeff Mayweather, as you guys seen in the title, and the link is in the description so you can watch it in its entirety verbatim. Jeff Mayweather, he has his doubts about the fight, and it's because he said he spoke to Floyd 3 weeks roughly before the interview, and he said last time he heard that Conor McGregor, since he's not his own boss, Dana White and the UFC, they want to do an 80-20 split with Conor McGregor, meaning whatever the purse is, let's say Conor McGregor was going to get $80 million, just around, I just made this number up, then the UFC would be entitled to 80% of that $80 million, Conor McGregor being entitled to 20%. So, again, for the full interview, check out Helen Yee Sports. The link is in the description. And Jeff Mayweather says, that's a tough pill to swallow. He said, you're the one doing the work, and you're the one that's going to fight. Even though 20% of whatever number would probably be a career-high payday for Conor McGregor, it's still a tough pill to swallow. So I want to give some of my thoughts on this. And I don't know. I don't know if the fight will happen. I've given my opinion on the fight. Floyd Mayweather should definitely win. I mean, there's boxers who've trained their whole life that can't beat Floyd. So, I mean, is someone really going to come in from another sport and train for a period of time and beat him when guys who've trained their whole life can't beat him? Doubtful. But you never know. It's boxing, and maybe that's what it takes. Maybe it takes somebody who has no type of textbook technique and has power, is an athlete, stuff like that. Has a good winning spirit, I would say. I think Nate Diaz fights showed you that Conor McGregor is at least tough, right? He was in there with Nate Diaz, who's just like the Terminator, just keeps coming and coming and coming. Pause. So, I don't know. But my thoughts, just like I agree with Jeff Mayweather in terms of that's a tough pill to swallow. And this is exactly what I've been telling you guys on the channel. Point blank, period. The UFC is probably going to try to stick it to Conor McGregor. And I told you if this fight doesn't happen, I see the UFC being the main culprit or the main reason why the fight may not happen. I've told you that. The videos are up on the channel and you can hear my thoughts. And after that point, people like Jeff Mayweather, I heard Bob Arum, and they also blame basically the UFC. So it's funny, like I said, I seen this coming a mile away, and I told you if this fight doesn't happen, I really see it because of Dana White / the UFC. And in case you missed those videos, I'm gonna go reiterate it again. The reason I believe this is because I come from, my dad was in the military. In the military, they have all these acronyms and like, you know, codes and stuff, abbreviations. And one of the acronyms that I remember that people say just is with them, and it breaks down what it stands for is what's in it for me. You got to look at it. As I just mentioned earlier in this video, I don't think Conor McGregor will beat Floyd. There's other people like Errol Spence Jr. interviewed him last year. He says he would beat Conor McGregor in sparring. He said he could stop Conor McGregor. And he says after sparring Floyd Mayweather, he's a lot stronger than people think. And he said Floyd has a great chance to stop Conor McGregor because McGregor is not a real boxer. He fights with his chin up and he'll get touched up basically, right? So if myself, Errol Spence, and I'm not putting myself in the same class as an Errol Spence, an Olympian, but I'm just saying it doesn't take Ray Charles to see that McGregor would not be the favorite in boxing. I know people could get mad and this is BS in a one-on-one fight with knives and in a bar fight, Conor McGregor would destroy Floyd and he would beat him in the octagon. But guess what? That's of no consequence. That doesn't really matter because Conor McGregor is not the A side. So it would never happen on Conor McGregor's terms. He having a boss, he having the career he has with losses in the UFC, with a loss in the UFC and losses prior to that when he was combat fighting, right? He's not in the position. He hasn't been doing, he's making a name for himself. He's gaining fans rapidly. People like him, but he hasn't been doing it as long as Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather's been owning Las Vegas in terms of when Floyd fights, he shuts down Vegas and everything is cracking, and there's a million jobs that are boosted from Floyd fights. Bartenders, Uber services, they just recently started doing Uber in Las Vegas, things like that, or taxis or whatever the situation is, clubs, all of that, casinos, all those things increase when Floyd fights, and he's been doing it longer than Conor McGregor. So again, to wrap it up with him, what's in it for me is that's what the UFC looks at. So if they are confident that their fighter would probably lose, then at least get cashed out. So the 80-20 doesn't sound that far-fetched to me. It's horrible because, I mean, this has happened in fighting sports for years, like Don Kings and stuff. He's the promoter, and he's making more money than Tyson. You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy. Like, Tyson the one risking his life for Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. or Vander Holyfield or whoever. You know what I'm saying? But that's the game. You know what I mean? These organizations, these promoters, they're like, we built your career. You wouldn't be anything without us. So we gave you the platform to even be heard, and you're under a contract. And I'm sure UFC has top level lawyers who spell out exactly what you can and can't do. And it's not even that I think they do. I know they do, because most big corporations or organizations do. And another indication, in case people have doubts of this, is simple. It's you look at the whole Reebok deal, the one that got Stitch Duran fired, right? Other fighters before that time, it wasn't exclusive to Reebok. So on their uniform, they can have patches and embroidery and all this other stuff from different sponsors of that particular fighter, right? But then when the UFC cut that deal with Reebok, that X'd all that out, and they became the sole proprietor or the exclusive company working with the UFC for their uniforms. You know what I mean? So the fighters couldn't wear all this other stuff and have, you know what I mean? They couldn't do it. It just couldn't do it. So that's how I know the UFC has the power over the fighters, because that cost the fighters a lot of money, because certain fighters were popular and companies wanted to invest in those particular fighters, and then that was out of the question. Now it's all Reebok. You know what I'm saying? So I know the UFC has tight stipulations on what you can and can't do. And the only reason guys like John Jones, they're fighting in these little grappling tournaments and stuff, is because John Jones can't compete in the UFC because he failed his drug test before going into the Cormier 2 fight. You know what I'm saying? So they probably gave him an exemption, but he probably had to get clearance to do that. Or maybe, I don't know if it happened overseas, maybe that changes it if you fight outside of the US or something. I don't know. But bottom line is, Conor McGregor has a boss, and he has somebody he has to answer to, and that's the UFC. So check out the Jeff Mayweather, Helen Yee Sports interview. He's breaking it down, and again, I think the UFC is the biggest holdup, because you look at it like this. What's the holdup on Floyd Mayweather's side? He's saying he wants to fight. That's making he'll make more money than he can make with a Keith Thurman or Danny Garcia or virtually anybody. Maybe even Pacquiao, because we've already seen him fight Pacquiao, and it wasn't even like really contested or close. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, what is left? You know what I mean? To give him that type of payday, right? He already beat a ton of people. Then I mean, you know what I mean? Golovkin's doing, as far as, I doubt Mayweather would go up to 160 or fight Golovkin at a catchweight, which would open up the floodgates for excuses. But even using Golovkin, I mean, that doesn't make sense, because Golovkin, he's not even doing 300,000 on his 2 separate pay-per-view outings. You know what I'm saying? So clearly Golovkin, he has fans, but he doesn't have that type of star power like a Conor McGregor yet, to the point where Floyd would be making as much money as fighting Conor McGregor. And again, if you believe Golovkin's star power is greater than Conor McGregor, then I don't know what to tell you. But Conor McGregor, his last pay-per-view outings have been like a million, 1.4, 1.6. So, I mean, numbers, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. So, I really believe what Jeff is saying. Now, does that mean that's an obstacle they can't overcome? Who knows? Because even with the 80-20 split, depending on how much they offered him, that could still be more money than Conor McGregor is used to. But it still would be an irritant to know that you're the one putting your reputation, your stock, your name, your training, and blood, sweat, and tears into the preparation to fight this generation's best boxer. You're laying it out. Like, if Floyd knocks you out, hypothetically, if he knocked you out, TKO'd you or something, that's your name. People aren't going to be like, oh, look at Dana White, he got knocked out. You know what I mean? People might say, oh, Dana White's cash cow got knocked. But it's different, because when I see fighters get knocked out, the memes are usually about them. Like Broner, he didn't even get knocked out, but he got beat up by Maidana, and the memes were about him and pictures of him as he got knocked down on the ropes. Or when Ronda Rousey got demolished in either of her fights with Holly Holm or Amanda Nunes, there's a million memes about Ronda Rousey and her face looking all crazy and getting kicked in the head. You know what I'm saying? People aren't really making as many memes about the UFC or Dana White. It's really the fighter. So the fighters are the ones that are risking their lives and risking everything. So 80-20 is just yikes. That's terrible. Like, that's like almost some prison stuff. You know what I mean? These prisoners get like 6 cents an hour or a day or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just, you can't make that make sense to me. 80-20. But maybe it's an obstacle they can overcome. Or maybe Conor McGregor, if he's offered the right amount, maybe he's like, man, I could still make $30 million off of this one fight alone. And then if I beat Floyd, then the sky's the limit in terms of sponsors and accolades and achievements and stuff like that. So I don't know, maybe the fight could still happen, but check out that interview. And I told you guys what it was. The UFC, the biggest thing is with them, because you look at the Mayweather side, like, just be real, be honest. If you hate Floyd, if you hate Conor, just really analyze what is being said. Floyd, I mean, who's going to prevent? Floyd's his own boss. We know that, right? What is Al Heyman going to call him? Like, Mayweather, I don't want you to fight Conor McGregor. And he's not going to do that. You know what I mean? Why would Al Heyman get in the way and tell him not to fight a guy who doesn't even normally box? You know what I mean? When he's seen Floyd demolish and beat guys bigger than him like Canelo and good fighters and stuff like that, Diego Corrales. So if anything, who does this hurt more? It would hurt the UFC if they come up short. I mean, if Floyd got knocked out or something, then that would definitely hurt him, but most people aren't projecting that. So here lies the problem, which is the UFC, that's their biggest cash cow, so they want to get cashed out. And at first, Dana White was like, no, under no circumstance will it happen. He even said a comment, something to the effect of, the week before the Super Bowl, he did an interview, and Dana White said, I have a better chance starting as the quarterback for the New England Patriots than that fight happening. But then I think he realized that Conor McGregor was serious about trying to make this fight, and then they came to their senses and realized, like, that's pretty fucked up. If he's gonna get more money than he's ever been able to make, then how can we hold him back from that and say, no, you absolutely cannot fight and you cannot get 20 to 50 million or whatever is being offered? You know what I mean? When they're not willing to pay him that. He's fighting Nate Diaz in tough fights like that. He's not getting 20 million guaranteed like Pacquiao. He's not getting 32 million guaranteed like Mayweather. Mayweather got 32 million guaranteed to fight Robert Guerrero. Let that sink in. And Guerrero's not a bad fighter, but he didn't even do a press tour with Guerrero. You know what I'm saying? Common sense. So again, the UFC, they're like, okay, we're not going to hold you back, because Dana White all of a sudden changed his tune, saying, oh, I think the fight could happen. It might happen. And that's because he probably sees Conor McGregor is really serious about this, and they realize they can't. I mean, that'd be shady to hold him back. Like, damn, you're not going to be able to make this money. We won't allow you to. Because Conor McGregor is probably trying to find ways around the UFC just in case. But now with the UFC, it sounds like their standpoint is, okay, we'll let you fight him, but since it's not really in our best interest, and if you lose it, and there's a good probability that you'll lose, then we're gonna tax you 80-20. That sounds realistic, because it's something you did not want them to do. So you're like, okay, I'll let you do it, but now you're getting taxed on the back end, and you're not gonna be making, because they probably wouldn't do that if it was a UFC fighter, because you got to look at it, man. I'm trying to give you guys a gem real quick. Same thing with the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight. Pacquiao's fighting guys like Jeff Horn now. Nobody really wants to see that fight. No one really knows who Jeff Horn is. It's a way for Top Rank to milk the Pacquiao situation, right? Pacquiao fighting Bradley 3 times. It benefits Top Rank in those situations because Bradley is a Top Rank fighter. Pacquiao is a Top Rank fighter, which means no matter who wins, Top Rank wins, because Pacquiao signed a Top Rank and Bradley signed a Top Rank, right? So if Bradley beats Pacquiao, which he did in the first fight, they said, and it's still a Top Rank fighter, and I'm like, okay, Bradley's the man now. But in the UFC, this would be like a once and done. It'd be like a weird circus fight, and if Conor McGregor gets demolished like Arturo Gatti style versus Mayweather, then now they got to go send Conor back to their organization. He could still be a champion there, but people are going to remember the highlight reel touch-up session from Floyd Mayweather, and it's going to hurt and impact his UFC sales. You know what I'm saying? So it just ultimately, the UFC, I feel like they're looking at it like it doesn't really benefit us. The only way it would benefit them is if Conor McGregor wins, and most people believe that's a long shot. So they're like, okay, you know what I mean? We're gonna tax you now. Let me know what you guys think. Drop it in the comment section. Make sure you share the video, like the video. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.